Welcome everybody. This is James Trisnerick live here on Spreaker Web Radio, and this is another podcast of Real Steel Sports. I hope you guys enjoy my two segments from about 23 hours ago that just hit, on the 2nd, early in the morning. I did the preview of the Ravens and Steelers and also of the Cardinals and the Panthers. Today I'll be talking about, right now I'll talk about the other two playoff games. I'm going to actually do a two-part series tonight. Tonight, the first series will be between the Bengals and the Colts. I'm going to talk about this game. Now, this game right here is a little bit more interesting because you got this 5th-seeded Bengals and the 4th-seeded Colts. These two teams played each other in the regular season. And the Bengals got destroyed in Cincinnati 27-0. If you look at the last two meetings between the two teams, they've been pretty lopsided. The Bengals last year in Cincinnati destroying the Colts 42-28. In that game, it was one of the best games of Andy Dalton's career. He threw for 3 touchdowns and over 270 yards. And then if you look at the game this year between the Bengals and the Colts, it was completely the opposite. Andy Dalton had one of his worst games. He completed less than half of his passes for under 130 yards. The running game never got going, and the Bengals only turned out 135 yards of offense compared to the Colts' 506. This game is going to be different, I think, because I think Indianapolis is not playing as well as they did last time, and I think that the Bengals are playing a little bit better, even though they lost last week to the Steelers. Looking at this game, talking about the Bengals offense, they come in as the 16th best scoring offense. They've scored 365 points this year, which is respectable. They are 21st in passing offense and 6th in rushing offense. Their running game has been very good this year. You look at their two leading rushers. The rookie Jeremy Hill with 1,124 yards rushing. And if you look at the second leading rusher in the team, Giovanni Bernard, he has had 680 yards rushing. And those two players have combined to play very, very well in this game. The problem for this game is that A.J. Green is doubtful for the Cincinnati Bengals, the big play receiver. You look at Tyler Eifert, he's not playing. That eliminates a target. Jermaine Gresham probably will play with a back/leg injury, and that'll probably hamper him a little bit too. He was very much hampered in the Steeler game last Sunday. Looking at the way that this is shaping up, I think that the Bengals have a good chance to move the ball against the Colts. Because if you look at what the Colts rank, they're 12th in pass defense and 18th in rush defense. If the Bengals can stay balanced, they can move the football in Indianapolis. I don't think that'd be too much of a stretch because you look at Andy Dalton, even without A.J. Green, he's still got some weapons. And even though it's going to be tough to compensate for the loss of a player like that if he does not play, which is getting more likely that he won't, I would have to go on a limb and say the Bengals are going to have to lean on the ground game more. And the Colts, who are 18th, which is closer to the bottom than the top of the league, at 113 yards per game allowed, that could play into Cincinnati's hands to keep Andrew Luck on the sideline. Speaking of Andrew Luck, he leads a Colts offense that is currently 7th in points scored. They've scored 458 points this year. They are 1st in passing yards a game, and they are 22nd in running. Now, compared to the Bengals defense, they're 12th in points allowed, 21st in pass defense, and 6th in rush defense. 20th in pass defense and 20th in rush defense. They're a very average defense in terms of yardage, but they're able to make the big plays and to shut you down whenever you have to. They're able to get the stops and get off the field and force you into field goals instead of allowing touchdowns. The Bengals are actually one of the few teams this year to have actually recorded more interceptions than passing touchdowns allowed, which is very rare in today's day and age with all this throwing of the football. The Bengals defense is probably going to key on the fact that the Indianapolis Colts have almost no running game. That if you look at what their running offense brings to the table, it's almost pathetic. When Ahmad Bradshaw went down with an ankle injury, that kind of killed their running game. Trent Richardson's questionable for this game. And if you look at what the rushing totals have been, if you look at their last two outings, they've kept 65 yards rushing combined, including 1 yard in the blowout loss at Dallas, And you look at some of the other games, 19 yards against the Patriots, 63 against the Steelers, 54 against the Broncos. They've had their struggles running the football, and they've been very, very apparent. Andrew Luck cannot beat, these elite defenses by themselves. I know he's got T.Y. Hilton. I know he's got Reggie Wayne. He's always got the young, talented Dante Moncrief. And he's got his tight ends in Dwayne Allen and fellow Stanford grad Kobe Fleener. But I think that whenever all is said and done, it's going to be really hard for the Colts to be consistently moving the football against the Bengals if they can't run it. Like, if Andrew Luck has to put the ball up how many times for him to win, it's going to be a problem. I mean, you see he's through for 600. He attempted 616 passes this year. Third in the league behind only Matt Ryan and Drew Brees. And if you look at it, he's had some struggles in some of these games where he's had to throw a lot. If you look at the games like the game against New England, he had to throw a lot. They got blown out. Against, Dallas, a lot. Again, one rushing yard. One rushing yard, that's it. This game is going to be a struggle for Indianapolis offensively because they don't have that balance. Unless Andrew Luck goes out and plays lights out. Because if he does, they've got a chance. The Bengals' pass rush, which was one of the most effective pass rushes this year, has been reduced to nothing more than a squirt this year. And if you look at what they've had, their leading sacker, I believe, is Carlos Dunlap, and he's got 8 sacks. Not the kind of defense needed, the pressure needed to keep Andrew Luck at bay. If Andrew Luck has time to sit back in the pocket, he'll pick apart the Bengals. My final analysis leads me to believe that I think Indianapolis wins this game. They are one of the most vulnerable teams in the playoffs because I know they won 3 of their past 4 games. But if you look at the way they won those games, 1 point win at Cleveland. You look at the touchdown win against the Houston Texans at home, the blowout at Dallas, and the win at home against the Tennessee team where they didn't play well at all. This is a game that I think is a game where Indianapolis wakes up and starts to play better. But it's still going to be a hell of a lot of work for them to really be able to consistently move the football. Ultimately, I think that when everything is all said and done, I am pretty sure that the Colts are going to win this game. I mean, I don't think it's going to be one of those games where they go out there and blow them out like they did the first time. I think this is going to be a really tough challenge for them. I think it's going to be tougher because of the fact they haven't played as well, and the lack of balance that they have is just ridiculous. I mean, in the first game between the Colts and the Bengals, they ran for 171 yards. Now, if you take away anything done by Ahmad Bradshaw, that total drops. Trent Richardson had a good game, but we'll have to see if he can continue that trend. I'm looking for Indianapolis to win this game probably by like a touchdown. I'm thinking maybe, I don't think it's going to be as high a scoring game as people think. I'm thinking maybe 24-17 or 23-16, somewhere in that realm. Because the way that everything is set up, Indianapolis is going to struggle consistently moving the football. But in all honesty, I think that they should be able to move it just enough to beat the Bengals. Anyway, guys, that does it for the first segment tonight. The next segment I'll be doing will be talking about the Lions at the Cowboys.